Hey, it's Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualise My Asexual Life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality. This is entertainment, and I do lifestyle vlogs and education information. So tonight I've got a movie review for you, Moana 2. So this is a no sex movie review. So I'm a sex repulsed asexual. Asexual person is someone who has a lack of sexual attraction, don't experience any sexual attraction whatsoever. So I like to find movies that have no sex in them, and Moana 2 is no exception to that rule. She doesn't have any need even for a relationship. So I'm going to dive straight into this movie. And if you don't like spoilers, please do not watch this video until you have seen the movie. So Moana 2 has reached #1 movie in the world over the weekend. I actually saw the movie on Friday, and there's articles such as Variety, online magazine, Thanksgiving box office record. Moana 2 scores dazzling 221 million debut. Wicked adds huge 117 million. So this was written on December the 1st at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. So I will put a link in the description to this article once I finished this live stream. So what is Moana 2 about and what happens in it? So like I said, if you don't want to hear spoilers, please do not watch this video. So Moana 2 is a follow-up to the box office hit Moana. Only this time the sales are absolutely phenomenal. It's a very good family action adventure movie, and Moana 2 stars a more adult Moana who's more at ease with the seas, and traveling and adventures on the seas is part of her daily life now. It's something she regularly does, and she regularly goes away to do this. Her family accept it and accept how she kind of is this awe and wonder wayfarer person of the seas. So in this movie, Moana has a vision from her ancestors, well, particular ancestor, and she gets told that there is a problem, that in the future, if she does not find an island, a sunken island called Motu Fitu, her people will no longer be on this island where she currently lives, like her, with her mum, father, and she's got a sister. And this little sister throughout the whole movie was so enchanting and mesmerizing. Whoever's done the animation of the little sister, whoever's done the vocals and all the kind of bringing her little sister's facial features to life, did such a good job. I thought this was an amazing character. This sister of Moana's, the way they've got Moana's sister to just come to life, and she's following in her sister's footsteps in this movie. You can tell that she kind of commands the oceans as well, which I thought was very interesting. So this story is about Moana in the present to the future, whereas a lot of the previous story was looking back and connecting why she is who she is today with the past. This is connecting why she is who she is today with the future, if you like. And it's terrible news that if she does not raise Motu Fitu from a god who basically sunk this island years ago, all the people of the oceans will, and different islands on the oceans, will not be reunited, and her own people will be no more in the future. So it's kind of a life or death situation for Moana. And this is a very deep thing for Moana. You know, she was a kind of a little girl in the first movie, but when I say little girl, she still knew what she's doing. She's still very independent, but she didn't really know the oceans that well. She was more clumsy. She wasn't confident, and she came alive with the oceans. Though she knew the oceans was for her, but there was sort of a kind of more, um, I'd like to say, more clumsiness and unawareness of what her role was with the oceans, which became more and more apparent as the first film went on. In this movie, she's at one with the ocean, but the problem is she has a big enemy, this storm god, to defeat, right? So, Nalo is a malicious storm god, and that's the character, if you like, the evil character that she's got to try to, how can I put it? She's got to try and defeat him by raising Motufitu, which was the island that he sunk years ago that connected all people. And he sunk this. I say he, but it's a god. It's a god, you know, whatever gender you want to assign. But I have to let you know, in the credits, the very, very end, this is a little secret, in the credits, mid-credits at the very, very end, when loads of people have already left the cinema, you actually get to see Nalo, the malicious storm god, the evil character in this. So you know now already that Nalo does survive, which leaves it open for a Moana 3. Anyway, so Moana has to go on a quest to find Motofitu and raise it up from the ocean, but she can't do this alone, so she needs Maui. So Maui is a demigod from the first film. His character is played by Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, and Maui, as you know, has got a big ego. But in this movie, he goes from having a really big ego to actually more having a caring nature. So Nalo, who's the storm god that sank Motufitu, that in this movie, Moana has to basically defeat him, in the sense she has to raise this island up. If she doesn't raise this island up to connect all the people from all the different islands of the ocean, her own people will be no more. And in order to do this quest, she has to leave her family behind, her mother, her father, and a little sister. Her little sister doesn't want her to go, but she shows her little sister how she can command the ocean. And her little sister looks like she can command the ocean as well. So I think in the future, they will have more storylines where Moana's little sister becomes like Moana and is able to control the oceans. I hope they keep that character, you know, the little sister, as a good character, but I'm not sure they will. They might put her in a situation that is very confusing and alluring or something. But I don't know, I've got a sense that her little sister can command the oceans as well by the way she touches the ocean. Anyway, to cut a long story short, Moana has to do this quest from the ancestors, but this challenge, this quest to defeat Nalo, the storm god, is huge, because obviously the storm god is in control from the skies. So the storm god is almighty and all powerful. And Moana is a little girl, but she's grown into a much more adult female now, more of a woman, if you know, young woman. I didn't actually see that much difference between the previous Moana, the first one, and her in the second movie, in terms of, I didn't think she'd grown that much, but there is definite growth there. She seems to have, I think, longer hair now. They make reference to the fact her clothes, she's changed her style of clothes a little bit. But I think overall, you know, there's not that much difference. I think she's a bit taller as well, and her face is more, probably just a tiny bit less baby-like. But really, I don't think she's changed that much in the way she looks. But this time, instead of trying to defeat the enemy by herself, but with Maui and Hey Hey, the is it cockerel or chicken? I think it's a cockerel, yeah. Hey Hey, you know, instead of Hey Hey and Maui basically being the main help for her, she has the help of 3 other people from her island, right? So they go with her. Now, one of the things I really loved about this is one of the people they picked was an elderly person, and he's good at making food, you know, growing crops and stuff. And they made him so he can't swim. And I thought this was very inventive because one, he's out in the ocean in the boat with Moana and the other two team members with with boat snack, is it called? Uh, and basically, like that's how what Maui calls the rooster, is it? I can't remember. I'm getting confused if it's a rooster or a chicken now, but yes. Basically, and the pig. Like Maui always refers to them as like boat snacks because he can eat them, but he doesn't. And anyway, so the pig and the rooster and three other characters go with Moana on this voyage. But one of the characters who does look a bit like Maui, to do with the hair and the body, is actually like in awe of Maui. It's like a major fan of Maui. I couldn't work out whether this character was in love with Maui, whether this character was gay, or whether this character just like worshipped the ground that the demigod Maui is on, basically, because he kept like doing drawings of him and Maui, and it's like his idol. And then he gets to meet Maui later on in real life, in the movie in real life, rather than just having posters and pictures that he's drawn of him and Maui. And so I know that he was like really in awe of Maui, and I couldn't work out why he had a crush on Maui, whether he was in love with Maui, or whether he's just idolizing and fantasizing about him. But this was a theme that was going on throughout the movie. But also I got a sense that he was a little bit attracted to Moana as well. But the whole point of Moana's character is she's very self-sufficient, she's very self-reliant, she's very self-assured, even if she's unsure about the next thing she's got to do because of the god Nalo being so mighty and powerful. She becomes a bit unsure, well, a lot unsure about herself as the time goes on. But in general, she's very strong, she's very independent, knows her own mind, and she doesn't actually need to be in a relationship to fulfill her own needs, and also to be doing the things she does. She doesn't need another person with her in that respect. So she's a law unto herself, and I think she's a very, very strong character that females around the globe can relate to in some way. And she's got this gentleness, this kindness, this kind of sweet and innocence, but she's also got a mission, and she's got missions to fulfill, and she's got to help her family. So she, in this movie, you saw her very torn internally between her loyalty to her family and the danger that she faces with trying to defeat Nalo the storm god and reclaim Motatui Island back for her people. So you saw her having a big dilemma emotionally, about, like the certainty she knows now that she has her family with her, and the uncertainty in the future about what's going to happen to her. Is she going to die? Is she going to make it? Is she actually going to be able to defeat the storm god or not? And so there's a lot of kind of emotional internal battle. And one of our ancestors says, before you were kind of unaware of things, it's more like you were younger and more innocent in that way. You were unaware of what you were losing. But because you're older now, with the emotional ties and everything, you're now fully aware of what you're losing. So I think that was a good distinction to make between the different ages you can be in life. Like when you're really, really young, you're kind of like just going with the flow of life more, and the excitement and the buzz, and you're sailing with the wind, if you know what I mean, and being blown away by it. You're not really thinking so much about danger and everything. But as you get older and you realize you've got more to lose, this is what a lot of people feel, and the movie reflected this, is it's kind of a sense of impending doom, like, what if I do this? What if I do that? But Moana realizes there is only her that can save her people. And that's a huge pressure on her. A huge, huge pressure on her. So anyway, she gets these three people plus the rooster and the pig to come aboard with her. But one of the people, he's the elderly guy who helps to make food on the boat, if you like. And he's mostly downstairs in this, in the downstairs compartment. But he can't swim. So you find out he's quite scared of the ocean. He can't swim. But as the movie progresses, you see that they actually make him some coconut armbands, so that even if he goes into the ocean, he will actually float. Although there was some times in the movie when they didn't actually have these coconut armbands on there. And some of it was before they actually thought of the idea of putting that in the movie, if you know what I mean, because it came later on in the movie as part of the storyline. But also there was times even when he had got the coconuts on, there was a time in the movie where he had them off again when there was a big storm and there was water coming over the boat. So anyway, there's also a character in there which likes to chop down things and make things really quickly, and she's trying to chop down the sails and things of Moana's boat, and Moana's trying to build it up again. So that was quite an interesting character. So I like the fact that she had people with her this time, even though I don't necessarily think she totally needs all those other people. The whole point was that she did need other people in this movie because they felt that the storm god was so big to defeat on her own that she needs to enlist the help of other people. I did think there was quite a lot of funny moments where the guy is really into Maui, like I said, and always drawing pictures of him and obsessed with Maui. I mean, he is obsessed to the point where he like dreams and just does pictures all the time of him and Maui. So anyway, as the movie progresses and Moana is after the storm god, what's happened is Maui has been captured by the storm god, and there's a character who works for the storm god. So Nalo is the storm god, and that's who sank the Motufitu island to the depths of the ocean, right? But Maui has been trying to look for Motufitu himself, and because he had a previous quarrel with the storm god Nalo, he is captured by Nalo's enforcer called Matongi. Now, Matongi seems a really horrible, like Batgirl creature, and Maui seems quite scared that she'll really do damage to him, and she's got these like bones, these teeth that have captured Maui and hung him up on this big hook, and he really has trouble trying to get down himself. And she's like, "Oh, Moana can save you," and he's like, "Oh, I don't need saving, I can save myself." So he's got a very big ego, Maui, as we know, but he's also got little pictures on his body that move, and I do like that idea that he's got like a big ego, but there's always like a conscience. There's like a character on his chest that's got a conscience that's always kind of telling him and looking at him like, "What are you doing? Why are you being horrible? Why are you not having a heart? Come on, man, have a heart." But he tells Matangi that basically he's not interested in Moana, and he was only being friends with her, basically using her. And I thought that wasn't carried much throughout the movie. What I thought was going to happen is I thought Moana was going to feel betrayed by Maui because she was going to find out from Matangi, who's Nalo's enforcer, the Storm God's enforcer. I thought she was going to find out that Maui said that about her, that he was only basically using her. But as the film progresses, instead of it going down that route and Moana feeling betrayed, it actually ended up being the opposite. You found out that Maui somehow changed from what he said to Matangi, and somehow he had a heart for Moana, and he really felt like, I don't know if the word obligated is right. He felt like he had to help Moana and be there for her, and he felt some emotional connection to Moana. I at one point thought, is Maui ever going to end up in a relationship with Moana? Obviously, Maui's like a demigod that's like quite old in terms of how long he's been around. But I always found Moana has a bit of his heart captured, even if he doesn't want to admit it, right? But Moana's supposed to be much younger than him at this point. But I only ever wondered in the future if Maui would end up being more than just Moana's kind of like demigod friend. So, but also I was interested, like the guy who was so into Maui, I thought he had liked Moana a little bit as well, in that way, a little bit romantically. But this is not what critics will say. This is not what the movie portrays. The movie portrays Moana as a very independent person, doesn't need to be in a relationship, full stop, which is very good from an asexual point of view because there's no sex in this movie. There's no I need a guy to be able to to like function properly. There's no like I need to be in a relationship to be complete or any of that lot. So I think this is a very good message. I love Moana's character as well as a female. I think she's very powerful, very strong. She's still got a heart. She's very empathetic. She has to make tough decisions, but there's still a gentleness and softness and kindness to her throughout the movie. And it's very interesting because I just saw, before I did this live stream, I saw a video interview with the person who plays Moana, and she comes across as very like Moana, like very soft and very gentle and very like takes the world in a magical way. You know, it's like the world around us is so magical. And so I really think that the person who plays Moana, it's the same person that played Moana in the first movie, he's come back for the second. First movie was apparently out in 2016. I thought it was, only a few years ago. I didn't think it was that long ago. But anyway, the person who plays Moana, you can tell she's Moana when she's in the interview. She just comes across as Moana, and she was saying she'd learned a lot through the character of Moana. She's learned that the world is bigger than she thought it was, and learned to go into parts of the world and see parts of the world that she would never usually explore. And the world's much bigger than her, and that's what I loved about this movie as well. So, as Moana goes to defeat Nalo, or tries to defeat Nalo by raising Motufitu, the island, she also is on a very internal personal journey of growth. And no matter what happens, the underlying theme of the movie is, even though she faces fears and she's like kind of trembling inside in some ways, in terms of she doesn't know what to do because she loves her family so much, she faces her fears head on and goes into the eye of the storm of the seas, if you know what I mean, and faces up to the reality of this situation and the fears, and pushes through those fears and still stays strong. And I relate to this myself. Like, I have a lot of fears and anxieties, but I do continue to push through and try to do the best I can do, even in the face of adversity. And this is how we become more resilient and strong. And I love this message that Moana is giving to young girls throughout the whole of the world, that you don't need to be in a relationship to be complete. You can achieve amazing things and have great courage and strength in and of yourself. And you can ride the storms of life and still come out on top in the end. But there is a but to this. There was a little bit of sadness in this movie, right? So this is towards the end. So so if we go back to Motufitu, so there is so Moana at one point is captured with her crew by the Kakamora. This is a tribe of savage coconut-like pirates. I couldn't stop laughing at this part of the movie. I just thought it was funny. I couldn't take them seriously. So they're like coconut pirates, and they go boom 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 on their chest. They don't really speak much. They speak through their body language and their actions. And so they throw darts at Moana and her crew and capture them. And they do this because they let Moana know that Nalo, the storm god's actions against Motufitu, has caused them to be disconnected from their home island. And so although the coconut pirates capture Moana and her crew, and they're putting darts in them, so like sleeping darts, in order to capture them. There's some funny moments when they're all talking with a lisp. The crew is talking, the elderly guy's talking like this, and they're not being able to speak properly. And that was really funny. There's a lot of bright, colourful scenery in this movie as well, because it's under the ocean. And I love the scenery. I love the videography in it. I love the fact that they bring the ocean to life, and you really get to see it from Moana's perspective. So they capture Moana, but only to reveal that the NATO's actions against Motofito has caused them to be disconnected from their home island. So they basically say that if you defeat this, they have to go through this. It's really weird. So there's a monster clam, a big, huge monster clam, and basically Moana and her crew have to go through it in order to get to Motofito. So one of the coconut pirates ends up helping them. So they end up having to come back to life, if you like, from the sleep they're in, because of these sleeping darts, through having this green blobby thing squirt stuff at them. It's really weird. So the coconut pirates have this great big blobby creature, this green blobby creature, but if it chucks out purple stuff, it poisons them, basically. So they have to chuck this green stuff over Moana and the crew, just for Moana and the crew to regain proper full consciousness and not be in sleep mode. I thought that was really weird. It's very like gooey and icky. So Moana goes through this massive clam, which is a very vicious clam, and has to go past that and get through that to go to Motofito, try to find Motofito, which is in the bottoms of the ocean. But she has to basically go to find Nalo in order to raise Motofito. But Nalo has Matangi, which I said, who's captured Maui. So basically, Moana and her crew eventually end up being in Matangi's lair, if you like, with all the bats, and Moana ends up finding Maui there eventually. But she has an encounter with Matangi. So Matangi's like this female bat creature, and Nalo's basically kept her captured to do his evil work for him. And what happens is Matangi actually helps Moana and her crew and Maui to escape from Nalo, and she reveals that she's not on board with everything Nalo's doing. So I didn't know if that was a trap at that point. I thought it might be a trap, but that Matangi's not really trying to help them. She's trying to help herself, but she is helping herself in the sense she wants her freedom. She wants to not be trapped by Nalo anymore, doing his dirty work for him. So there's a point in the movie where Moana and Matangi are together, and Matangi has given some really powerful, wise advice to Moana, saying even when you're lost, there's always another way out of the situation. And this really resonated with me because I've been in some situations where I felt very, very trapped in life, and it's involved me with other people and things that are beyond my control. But I've had to try and find things I can control within those situations in order to get myself out of it. And it's very, very difficult when you're dealing with other people, you're dealing with difficult people in life, difficult situations. You don't have control over other people. So you then have to work out how you can kind of change your behavior and actions that will help to influence other people to change their behavior and actions, whilst knowing you can't directly change anything with them. You have to change what you're doing yourself. So years ago, I was in a situation which I felt very, very trapped in. I didn't know how I was going to get out of it, and I had to do what you call reverse engineering, which was like seeing the problem for what it is, and then seeing the outcome that you want to get, rather than focusing on the problem round and round in circles. So like, what is the outcome you want? What do you want to happen, Sandra? And so when I looked at the outcome, it's like, okay, how do I achieve that outcome? What would be the back steps? What would be you have to go backwards. Like, this is the outcome. In order to be in that outcome, what do you actually have to have achieved? And then work backwards from there on how to achieve it. It's quite difficult. So I did like the advice Matangi gave me, Moana, is even when you're lost, there's always a way out, another way out of the situation. There's always another way of doing things, which means you can change your destiny, you can change the future. And so I knew that this was very, very important words. And at one point in the movie, in the future, that Moana was going to get lost and be alone. And that's what actually happened, because she did get separated from her crew a little bit towards the end of the movie. But the end of the movie isn't 100% what I thought it would be. So I got a bit confused, because at one point, like, Maui's trying to raise the island, and Moana has to touch the island. This is Motu Fitu that's been put to the bottom of the ocean. And there was a lot of problems with the ending in terms of, you didn't know if Moana was going to live. And I was quite shocked, because she was struck by lightning. I think it was from the storm, Nalo, and evil storm god. And she looks like she's dead. Moana looks like she's died. And then her ancestors come back. Maui jumps in the sea after her body, and you can't believe it looks like Moana's died, and you're like, oh my God, what's going on? And yeah, she's just she's just like, looks like she's dead. And yes, this is live. I'm streaming live at the moment. Someone asked in chat, it says live. It says live. It's definitely recorded live. And so yeah, it's quite sad, You think she's dead, and they do find a way to bring her back from the dead. That's all I'm gonna say. So yeah, I really love this movie. I thought it was very heartwarming. It's a story that is full of hope and resilience and inner strength. It shows a female character as a very strong, very powerful leader in her own life, who weathers the storms, both internally battling against her feelings of how is she going to achieve what she needs to achieve and keep her family safe, battling with feelings of having the love of her family and not wanting to leave them behind, but realizing she belongs to the oceans. That's her life and that's her world. And so it was an incredible movie. I did like the songs in this one as well as the songs in the first. There was a song about going beyond, and can you go beyond? So this was very representative of, can you go beyond the limits that you've set for yourself, really? Can you go beyond the oceans to the depths of the oceans? Can you go beyond what you felt you were capable of achieving? Can you go beyond your own limitations? And I think this is an important message. And very much the message at the end of the movie was to push for your fears and stand up to them and face them head on and battle through them and keep believing yourself. At one point towards the end of the movie, Moana doesn't really believe in herself, and that's partly because Maui put in her head that it was a suicide mission And indeed it was, with the fact that she does actually, get struck by, like, Nalo and ends up looking like she's dead. And yeah, that was a shocking part of it, but I loved the actual fact of what happened after that. Like like I said, they they found a way to bring her back from the dead, basically, but not in the way you necessarily think. So I won't tell you uh, the final bit of the ending of the movie in that way. I think you should definitely watch it. I would definitely say to give it a watch. It's a very, very good movie. I did enjoy this movie a lot. I thought it was really nice. Probably quite not quite as action-packed as some movies. I recently watched Transformers 1, and I'm gonna be reviewing that very shortly, which was so action-packed, I just basically couldn't stop watching it. It was very difficult to, like, not be gripped by it, but Moana 2 is a bit more gentle in that way, but there are a lot of inner turmoil that Moana has to go through and battle. Like I said, she's got the internal emotions to do with her family, but she's got the loyalty to saving her people in the future and her tribe now. You know, she has to defeat Halo and raise Motufitu from the depths of the ocean in order for her own people to survive in the future. So there's a huge amount of pressure on Moana's shoulders, like the whole of the oceans, the whole of the islands, the whole of the people depend on her. And you do see throughout the movie, like later on, you see these people come from out of what seems nowhere that you've never seen before in the movie. And even in her own island, you see that there's kind of a lot of more families there than you see in the first movie. So you realize that there's a lot of things at stake that ride on Moana being able to defeat Nalo and get Motufitu raised from the ocean beds. So I would highly recommend watching this movie. Like I said, it did end up being the number one movie in the world recently. So yeah, with the amount of money it's taken over the Thanksgiving, basically. So I definitely think it's worth giving a watch. I found it a very enjoyable movie. And it gave me a lot of strength because I was going through a difficult time when I went to see this movie. Like, things had been going wrong in my life a lot that day, and there were things that were beyond my control, but I was like, "What can you control?" And so I decided, rather than being self-critical of myself, that I would take myself out to watch a movie, and I chose to watch Moana 2, and I was so glad I did, because the overriding theme of the movie is, even in the face of adversity, don't ever give up and ride with the weather, the bad weather and the storms, and you can still come out the other side. So it's got a very powerful and strong sense of urgency to be able to get your situation resolved, but knowing that it will take a long time, both having an inner battle and journey with your emotions, but keeping a level head as much as possible to know that you can achieve what seems impossible, even if it's an uphill battle or struggle. In that moment, you can achieve what seems unachievable if you just keep facing your fears head on and keep going into the unknown. Sometimes we don't know the outcome of a situation. Sometimes we can't predict it, but all we can do is predict the reliability of ourselves and our self-reliance. There's a lot of the movie where you do see Moana, who's had the help of other people in this movie, but ultimately it's down to her at the very, very end of the movie to be able to save all the islands and all the people in the oceans. And that is just a lot of responsibility to bear. But Moana will do whatever she can to save her people and the islands and reunite basically all the people under the sea and on top of the sea in the islands of the oceans. So I really do think that this has a very heartwarming, heartfelt story. It elevates you in ways that only Moana can. And I love the fact they've kept the character as a strong female character while still having a lot of warmth and heart and feelings for her family. You know, she's like torn between her mission as a warrior of the seas, if you like, and her family, but she still knows ultimately she has to do what she's called to do, and that is to work with the oceans and to defeat Nalo, the storm god, to raise Motufitu to save all the people in the oceans and islands. So Moana is very, very brave, and I think this is a very good movie to watch for female people in general, you know. And just it's nice to see Maui as well as a demigod actually being more emotional in this. You find out that he cares a lot more about Moana, that he really, you know, he's telling her it's a suicide mission at one point, and then makes jokes and stuff to try and change the situation. But then he has a heartfelt talk with Moana, and he does at the end raise her vibrations, raise her emotional state by saying she can do this. You know, even when he said it's a suicide mission, before he changes what he says to her and gives her a pep talk, and he does actually say to her, you know, you've got this, you can do this. And your people are relying on the Moana that is brave and strong and believes in herself. That's the Moana that people need to see. So be that person. So yeah, I think that's really important. Anyway, enjoy the movie. If you like this review of it, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, hit the bell icon, and go and watch the world's #1 box office smash hit movie, Moana 2. See you soon. Let's put a live stream. Subscribe for more entertainment, lifestyle videos, educational videos, and information. And if you like superhero movies, if we're on superhero movies, because Moana is a hero, she's like a female girl superhero without the dress of a superhero. She's got superhero qualities inside her. And if you want more superhero qualities inside you, get Fibromyalgia Self-Help Handbook. This teaches you how to have less pain, more energy, and feel happier like a superhero rock star. And fibromyalgia is a pain condition, but even if you don't have this condition, you can still benefit from this book that tells you how to reduce pain in up to 25 aspects of your life. And that's me in my Ace Fiber Girl outfit. There's a hero that can come out in all of us. So if you want to be that hero for yourself, go and grab a copy of Fibromyalgia Self-Help Handbook on Amazon. And don't forget to get my best-selling asexual books on Amazon. Asexual Perspectives, 47 Asexual Stories, Love, Life and Sex, A Celebration of Asexual Diversity, and also Diary Confessions of a Hyperromantic Asexual, 78 Life Lessons to Ace Your Life. This one's on a special Cyber Monday offer at the moment, the Diary Confessions. So go and grab a copy of that now while it's in a lower price. And I'll see you soon on the next video live stream. Lots of love. Take care. Bye.